Hi, Facebook friends. It's your friend, Justine. I wanted to make a video today about going on vacation. I am so lucky to be able to be somebody that does go to a warm place almost every year around this time. So just to get out of the cold. If you and I are Facebook friends, but you do not live in Vermont and you live somewhere down south, it's just one of the most difficult times of year. This lighting is actually making me look slightly tan, but like this is like very tan for summer. So we're all looking a little, ghostly. So normally I've been going on these vacations for about 4 or 5 years now. And the first thing, as soon as we book those tickets, can anybody guess what the first thought is that I normally have? It's to diet, okay? Immediately, all right? So we buy the tickets around, Christmas time. And then first thing that comes into my mind is like, oh my God, like I really need to start eating differently. I need to lose weight because I'm gonna be by the pool. So 2 years ago, I really tackled this head on and I made a very concerted effort to not diet. And it was really hard because I have a very strong urge. I'm somebody that up until pretty recently, about like 2 to 3 years, I was willingly kind of on this cycle of restriction and then the inevitable going back to my set point. And then having a lot of self-loathing. So I've used, I don't necessarily identify as somebody who has an eating disorder, but I certainly experience disordered eating, and unhealthy food behavior, food thoughts, feelings of self-loathing. And I've struggled with that immensely in my 20s. I can happily say that through some natural sort of maturation as happening through my 30s, but also going to therapy, reading a lot of self-help books around the subject of body image, it's just made me really wake up to my own thoughts that kind of come in. They're kind of like running right under the surface. So it's not like, oh, I'm fat and gross and I hate myself, right? It's not like that, but it's just these little thoughts running under the surface that make me have self-doubt, that can affect my confidence or feelings of self-worth that have to do with my body image and my weight. So I become really hyper vigilant about identifying those and really bringing them into the forefront to see how valid they are. Normally they're not valid. So this year's no different. We bought the tickets. It was, around December. So wow, what a perfect time to diet, right? Because it's January, it's like all over our news feeds and everything. So I bring that into the forefront, but my professional life requires me to know that dieting really doesn't work. And we really know this, even though I am not kidding. I Googled the case for not dieting before vacation. Okay, I Googled that. The first 2 pages were all articles on how to diet before vacation. I'm not kidding. So then I typed it again. I said, stop dieting before your vacation, or like something like that. And again, same thing. Everything that came up was how to lose 10 pounds in a week. And I was like, what the hell's going on? Like, I'm clearly typing in, not dieting, and everything that came up was dieting. And what that tells me is that's what people are searching for. So I know that this is an issue for a lot of women. And I understand too, you might be like, oh, well, you don't have 50 pounds to lose or 100 pounds to lose. But I'm going to tell you this. The stress that goes into dieting is real, okay? We've all experienced it. And as women, as most women will know, it's so normalized. It's like being in an abusive relationship, okay? It becomes very normal and it almost becomes comfortable, okay? And it's like you're so used to being in this pattern of restriction, praising yourself for not eating and exercising, and then we inevitably, go back to what I would call like a more of a set point, which is like where our energy is at, the foods that we genuinely enjoy, and then we're bad and we berate and we say, no, we're going to go back to that diet, right? And that's when you get that pendulum swinging between the restriction, and then going back to what, again, I'm going to call it more of a set point. But what can happen over time is that every time we diet, when we go back to our set point, if we diet so extremely, we'll actually start to F with our metabolism. And that's why a lot of yo-yo dieters will actually start to gain more weight back every time. Okay, so that's really important to understand. I'm not trying to make anybody anxious, but that's just really what the science shows us. So dieting is just like, it's so detrimental physically, but it's also, and I think a lot of women will agree with me, it's so detrimental like mentally and emotionally, because we have this idea, this fantasy version of ourselves out there somewhere, right? Oh, well, that Justine, she's going to have, all this positive attention. And once I'm that thin, my life is going to change. I'm going to feel so much better, right? Like things are just going to come together in my life in a way that like is going to make my dreams come true. And I have that fantasy still. And I have it because I have had it since I was like 11, right? So it's not easy to change that narrative, but I still find myself fantasizing around like, oh, if I looked this way, like my life would really change. And that's not true. And if it is true and you have people in your life where like if you lost 20 pounds, 50 pounds or whatever, they would start treating you with more respect. That's their issue. Like that's nothing to do with you. Okay. That person had like, that is somebody that, like reevaluate your friendship or your relationship with them. Cause that's fucked. If that's really how you feel that you're not getting the respect that you deserve. Okay. So I'm going to say, I have not dieted before this vacation and it was really hard. I'm not saying that because it's like, like, oh, I'm so above, like I feel so good that I don't need to diet. That's not what I'm saying. It was really hard for me. And I had many moments almost every day where I thought to myself, I could start right now. If I didn't eat, if I just skipped dinner for the next 10 days, I'd probably lose a few pounds, That's very alluring to me and my mind because of how long I have been stuck in that restriction cycle of feeling as though my body needs to be smaller in order for me to like have a good time. It's like completely, it's so effed. Like, but this is the conditioning that we've had as women in this culture. And so, I need to be soft towards that and understanding towards that and not, get angry about it. I mean, I do get angry and I think that that's healthy too, but just approaching it from a place of like, I understand why I'm feeling this way. It makes sense why I would have this urge to shrink my body before going on a beach. I totally get that. But I'm going to tell you this. This is the same reason why I'm not a big fan of before and after photos. And if you do those, I'm not trying to shame you. I'm just saying from my point of view. And I actually had one that I took down because my values have really changed since I posted it. Because it's the same idea. It's like you're looking back at this version of yourself like that's some kind of better version of you. Okay. And it's not. Okay. Maybe to you, it like looks better, in that swimsuit, whatever. But like the value of you as a human is not better back then. And I find it, and I can tell you this because I speak to so many clients. Most of my clients are female, but I do have some men and they have this as well, which is like, we're all trying to go back, right? It's like, oh, I want to be I want to fit into my jeans from 15 years ago. I want to like look like I did before I had the baby. I want to look like I did when I was playing sports in college. It's like, okay, well, no, newsflash, like it's 25 years later, right? Or whatever, 10 years later, 5 years later, we must allow for change. Okay. If there's one thing that you can rely on is that things are going to change. Okay. It's like the one thing that we know for sure. Okay. Is that things are going to change. But for some reason with our bodies, we are like, just like clinging on, like don't change. Right. And that makes the process, which is inevitable, so painful for us, especially as females. Okay. And I know men, I'm not trying to disclude men. It's just, I'm not a man, so I can't speak to that, but I'm sure that they might have similar feelings. But for females, it's like, we know we're going to change as we age. And it's just like, it's like, like dragging a cat across the carpet. Okay. And I just really urge all of us to find ways to lean in slightly to these changes. No, I did not diet before this vacation. Okay. I bought swimsuits. I bought 2 new swimsuits. They're both XLs, and they fit me, and that's what I'm wearing, okay? But I will tell you a few things that I'm gonna do for myself to make me feel good about taking my clothes off and being in a bikini. Number one is, I have a phenomenal hairstylist, okay? Not everyone, I understand some of this is not available to everyone due to the cost. But I got some like beautiful highlights in my hair. I like really like them. I think that they look really nice. I was lucky enough to have a facial. I've never had a facial before, okay, ever in my life. But I got hooked up with a gift certificate and I had a facial, and that felt amazing. So I have a few skincare products that I really splurged on a little bit, where gives you a really beautiful glow. And I put these, this on my skin. I feel really nice. I feel like I look just very healthy, and I'm excited to have those. I got a tinted moisturizer from Beautycounter. My girl Zinnia hooked me up. So again, just something, these are all things where it's like, they're a little bit softer than like, oh, I'm going to, lose this weight, right? It's like, it's more just like a little bit of like indulgence, which feels really nice, right? Indulgence is the opposite of restriction, right? Restriction is like you're in jail, okay? Like this is more about creating ways. Another thing I did was I got a loofah, which is like ridiculous. I know most people loofah all the time, but if you know me, you know I am like horrible about taking care of my skin, and that's something that I just started doing about 3 months ago. I know, I'm 34 years old. I like really never really washed my face, like maybe like once every like 2 weeks. It's ridiculous. But anyway, I'm getting a lot better about that. But I have these like little bumps on the back of my arms, so I started loofahing. Now my skin is nice and smooth, so like that makes me feel good. Personal, but I am Greek, and so I have very dark hair on my body. So one thing I do, I'm going to tell you, are you ready? I'm going to say it to the whole world. It's a little embarrassing, but I actually bleach some of the hairs on my tummy. It looks really good. When I like do it, I'm like, damn, it looks a lot better. Okay. So that's something that I do. It makes me feel, let's just say like more presentable, or just a little bit better in my skin. It just makes me feel really beautiful and good. And so I urge you to find those things, right? Like those things that are not, punishment for us, but are more like, girl, you're going to be out in the sun. Like, what can you do for yourself to make you feel beautiful that doesn't have to do with shrinking your body size down, right? Take up the space. It's all right. And if somebody has a problem with you, that is their fucking problem. It's not your problem, okay? And I know that that's hard to live in the moment, but I really urge you to do it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say before I sign off. Just having clothes that fit you, right? It's so like, I understand, like we all have those like skinny girl jeans. There's a great Sex and the City episode about that, which I kind of disagree with now, but where Miranda has her like skinny jeans, and it's like such a big deal when she can fit back into them. But it's just, is that really what we're going for? Like those are the big wins, right? It's like, oh my God, we're all intelligent and creative and caring. We're there for people. We mean a lot to the people around us. It's like it just doesn't really matter as much as society would tell us, okay? They're just trying to get us to buy shit, I swear. So just keep that in mind. If you do, again, there's no judgment. If you're in a place where you're like, listen, Justine, like, I need to diet before this vacation because otherwise, like, I'll freak out. I get that, because 10 years ago, if somebody had said, oh, you're not allowed to diet before you go by the pool, that would have been incredibly anxiety provoking for me. Okay. So I totally understand that this is like a journey, and this is just where I am on my journey. And again, after lots of therapy, lots of self-help books, lots of journaling and self-reflection around these issues with my body image and how it relates to food and exercise. Okay. So I will be on vacation, and I will take photos for you, and you're going to be real jealous because it's going to be warm, and I'm wearing sandals, and I'm so excited that I don't have to wear shoes for a week. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. If anybody ever needs to reach out to me, please do. My personal training has an emphasis on strength and empowerment, and I actually really don't take on any weight loss clients anymore. That's really not what I'm focused on. It's more about getting in your body, right? And like seeing all the freaking awesome things it can do than trying to disassociate or change or shrink your body. So if that's something you're interested in, I do take clients still. I'm not trying to make this a pitch, but you know, that's what I do for a living. So I'm also happy just to chat with anyone. So if you're not ready to train, if you just want to message me, if you have a question or anything, I'm like totally here for you. I love to help people. So please never hesitate to reach out. All right, everybody, take care.